Despite the Galactic Council's stern warnings, the Zalar Dominion laughed at the idea of fearing humans, until they learned what fear truly meant. The Galactic Council convened in the vast chamber, its grandeur and technological sophistication a testament to centuries of interstellar diplomacy. Representatives from dozens of species filled the seats, their expressions ranging from concerned to indifferent. At the center of the room, High Commander Valtor of the Zalar Dominion stood tall, his crimson robes billowing slightly in the artificial breeze. His reptilian eyes scanned the assembly with barely concealed disdain. Councillor Vren of the Eldery took the floor, her voice amplified to command attention. High Commander Valtor, the Council urges you to reconsider your planned invasion of Earth. Humanity has proven itself unpredictable and resilient. Underestimating them could lead to catastrophic consequences. Valtor's lips curled into a sneer. Councillor Vren, your concerns are noted but unnecessary. The Zalar Dominion has faced and crushed far greater threats than a primitive species on a backwater planet. Our technology and military might are unparalleled. Murmurs spread through the chamber, but Vren remained resolute. Do not mistake our warning for fear, High Commander. Humanity's resourcefulness and determination have turned the tide against superior foes before. We urge caution. With a dismissive wave, Valtor turned away, signaling the end of his participation in the discussion. The Zalar Dominion does not heed the fears of lesser species. We will proceed as planned. Back in the war room of the Zalar Dominion's flagship, the Invincible, Valtor and his advisors reviewed the invasion strategy. Holographic displays projected Earth and its defenses, highlighting potential targets. Valtor's chief strategist, General Crix, outlined the plan with clinical precision. We will strike simultaneously at key military installations and communication hubs, Crix explained. This will cripple their ability to coordinate a defense, and sow chaos among their ranks. Valtor nodded approvingly. Excellent. We will show the Galactic Council and all others who dare doubt us the true might of the Zalar Dominion. As preparations for the invasion intensified, Lieutenant Zareth watched with a mix of awe and unease. The young officer respected Valtor's leadership but couldn't shake the nagging feeling that they were underestimating their enemy. Zareth approached Valtor cautiously, his voice measured. High Commander, perhaps we should consider a more measured approach. The Galactic Council's warning, though condescending, might hold some merit. Valtor's eyes narrowed. Lieutenant Zareth, are you suggesting we cower before a primitive species? The Zalar Dominion does not retreat in the face of inferior opponents. Zareth straightened, suppressing his doubts. Of course not, High Commander. I merely suggest caution. Valtor dismissed him with a curt nod. Your concern is noted. Return to your duties. Soon, the Zalar fleet assembled in Earth's orbit, their sleek ships bristling with weaponry. As they emerged from hyperspace, the initial strike began. Earth's defense satellites were obliterated in moments, and military installations across the globe found themselves under sudden and devastating assault. Panic rippled through Earth's command centers. General Marcus Adams, a seasoned veteran, quickly assumed command of the chaotic situation. Get me a status report, he barked, his voice cutting through the din. Multiple strikes on our defense systems, sir. An aide responded. Satellite communications are down, and we've lost contact with several bases. Adams clenched his jaw, his mind racing. Mobilize all available forces. We need to regroup and launch a counteroffensive. And get me Captain John Reynolds. In a hidden military base nestled in the Rocky Mountains, Captain John Reynolds received the urgent call. Tall and broad-shouldered, with a stern demeanor softened only by his sharp blue eyes, Reynolds was a man of action. He gathered his Special Forces team, each member an expert in unconventional warfare. Listen up, Reynolds said, his voice steady. The Zalar have hit us hard, but we're not out of the fight. We're going to disrupt their operations from the inside. Guerrilla tactics, sabotage, whatever it takes to make them regret setting foot on our planet. The team nodded, their faces grim but determined. They moved out under the cover of night, slipping through forests and mountains to avoid detection. Their first target, a Zalar encampment near a vital supply route. Under Reynolds' direction, they set up an ambush. The Zalar troops, confident in their superiority, marched into the trap. Explosions erupted, and chaos ensued as the humans attacked with precision and ferocity. The Zalar, caught off guard, fell back in disarray. In the aftermath, Reynolds and his team regrouped. Good work, he said. But this is just the beginning. We need to keep the pressure on and make them realize they've bitten off more than they can chew. Back on the Invincible, Valtor fumed as reports of the ambush reached him. How could this happen? He demanded, his voice a dangerous growl. General Crix shifted uneasily. It appears the humans are more resourceful than anticipated. We may need to adjust our strategy. Valtor's eyes blazed with anger. No. We will crush them with overwhelming force. Prepare for a full-scale assault. As the Zalor forces regrouped and prepared for their next move, a sense of unease settled over the Dominion's ranks. The humans had shown they would not be easily subdued. And while Valtor's pride demanded a swift and brutal victory, the seeds of doubt had been sown. High above Earth, the stage was set for a conflict that would test the limits of both human ingenuity and Zalor hubris. The Galactic Council's warning echoed in the minds of all who had heard it, a reminder that even the mightiest empires could fall when they underestimated their foes. In the dense forest near the Zalor encampment, Captain John Reynolds and his Special Forces team moved like shadows. The night was their ally, cloaking their movements and muffling their presence. Reynolds paused, signaling his team to halt. He scanned the area with a pair of night vision goggles, noting the positions of Zalor sentries. Hold positions, Reynolds whispered into his comm. Wait for my signal. His team fanned out, taking cover behind trees and rocks. Corporal Lisa Chang, the team's demolitions expert, quietly prepared charges, her hands moving with practiced precision. Next to her, Sergeant Mike Thompson adjusted his rifle, eyes trained on the enemy. Reynolds observed the Zalor soldiers, their confidence evident in their relaxed postures. He couldn't help but feel a grim satisfaction. They had no idea what was coming. With a quick gesture, he gave the signal. In a coordinated strike, the humans unleashed their attack. Explosions erupted, throwing the Zalor camp into chaos. Chang's charges tore through equipment and supplies, while Thompson's sharpshooting picked off officers. The Zalor, caught off guard, scrambled for cover, but the humans were relentless. Within minutes, the camp lay in ruins, smoke and flames licking the night sky. Reynolds regrouped his team at a prearranged rendezvous point. Excellent work, everyone, he said, his voice low but firm. This is just the beginning. We need to keep hitting them hard and fast. The team nodded, their resolve unshaken. They knew the stakes. Failure wasn't an option. Back at the Zalor Command Center, High Commander Valtor raged. Reports of the ambush had reached him, and his fury was palpable. How could a handful of humans cause such devastation? He demanded, glaring at General Crix. Crix shifted uncomfortably. The humans are employing guerrilla tactics, sir. They're using the terrain to their advantage and striking with precision. Valtor's eyes narrowed. Then we will draw them out. Set a trap. Make them think they have the upper hand, and then crush them. Lieutenant Zareth, standing at the edge of the room, watched the exchange with a sinking feeling. His earlier doubts about underestimating the humans now seemed justified, but he held his tongue. Valtor's wrath was not something he wished to provoke further. Meanwhile, in a hidden base nestled deep within the mountains, Reynolds and his team planned their next move. The base, a converted mine, was a hub of activity. Maps and charts covered the walls, and a constant stream of intelligence reports flowed in. We've hit their supply lines, Reynolds said, addressing his team and a group of resistance leaders. Now we need to disrupt their communications. If we can cut off their ability to coordinate, we can further cripple their efforts. Chang nodded. I've got the charges ready. We can take out their relay stations and mobile command units. Thompson added. And I've got eyes on a high-ranking officer. Taking him out could throw their command structure into disarray. Reynolds approved the plan. Let's move out. We hit them tonight. The team moved swiftly and silently through the forest, making their way to the first relay station. The Zalor had fortified the area, but Reynolds had anticipated this. They approached under the cover of darkness, using the dense foliage to remain unseen. Chang set the charges with meticulous care while Thompson and the others provided cover. Once everything was in place, they retreated to a safe distance. The explosion was deafening, a pillar of fire and debris shooting into the sky. The Zalor, once again, were thrown into chaos. Before the dust had settled, Reynolds led his team to the next target, a mobile command unit. Thompson took his position, sighting the officer through his scope. With a steady hand, he fired. The officer dropped, and pandemonium erupted among the Zalor troops. As they retreated, Reynolds couldn't help but feel a grim sense of satisfaction. Each successful strike brought them closer to victory, each disruption sowing more confusion and fear among the enemy ranks. Back in the Zalor command center, the atmosphere was tense. Valtor's anger had not abated. "This is unacceptable," he snarled. "We will not be outmaneuvered by these primitives." Crix, now desperate, suggested a full-scale assault on known human resistance areas. "We can flush them out, sir. Overwhelm them with sheer numbers." Valtor considered this, his eyes cold. "Do it. And ensure no one survives." As the Zalor prepared for their assault, Reynolds and his team received intelligence on the impending attack. The resistance leaders gathered, their faces grim. "They're coming for us," one leader said. "We can't hold out against a full-scale assault." Reynolds stood, his expression resolute. "Then we don't hold. We move. We scatter and hit them from all sides. Make them chase ghosts." The plan was set. As the Zalor forces advanced, they found empty bases and silent forests. But as they pressed on, they were met with ambushes, sabotage, and relentless harassment from all sides. The night was filled with the sounds of battle, but the humans fought with a tenacity and cunning that the Zalor could not match. Each skirmish took its toll, wearing down the invaders. As dawn broke, Reynolds and his team regrouped. They were battered but unbroken, their spirits high. They had survived the night and inflicted heavy losses on the enemy. In the Zalor command center, Valtor seethed with frustration. The humans had once again outmaneuvered them. But as he looked out at the wreckage of his plans, a new determination set in. "This is not over," he vowed. "We will crush them, no matter the cost." The stage was set for a final confrontation, a battle that would determine the fate of both species. The humans had shown their resilience and ingenuity, but the Zalor were not yet defeated. The conflict would rage on, each side driven by a determination to prevail. In the dimly lit control room of the hidden base, Captain John Reynolds reviewed the latest intelligence reports. The Zalor were amassing their forces for a final, overwhelming assault. He knew that their strategy of guerrilla warfare had bought them time, but now the humans needed a decisive victory to turn the tide. "Everyone, gather around," Reynolds called out to his team and the resistance leaders. The room fell silent as they focused on their captain. "We've inflicted significant damage on the Zalor, but they're preparing for a full-scale attack. We need to hit them where it hurts most, their command center." Sergeant Mike Thompson, ever the marksman, chimed in. "If we can take out their command structure, it'll create chaos and disorganization. They'll be vulnerable." Reynolds nodded. "Exactly. We need to infiltrate their main base and eliminate High Commander Valtor. Without him, their invasion will crumble." Corporal Lisa Chang, always ready with a plan, spoke up. "We'll need precise timing and coordination. I can handle the explosives, but we'll need a distraction to draw their forces away from the command center." Reynolds turned to the group. "We split into two teams. One creates a diversion, the other infiltrates and takes out Valtor. This is our best chance. Let's move." As night fell, the two teams set out. Reynolds led the infiltration unit, while Thompson and Chang took charge of the diversion. The forest was alive with the sounds of nocturnal creatures, masking their movements. They reached the outskirts of the Zalor base, a fortress of steel and energy shields. Thompson's team positioned themselves strategically, ready to create chaos. With a nod from Thompson, Chang triggered a series of explosions. The ground shook, and plumes of fire erupted, drawing the attention of the Zalor guards. Sirens blared, and soldiers rushed toward the source of the disturbance. Reynolds used the distraction to slip past the outer defenses. His team moved silently, shadows among shadows. They navigated the labyrinthine corridors of the Zalor base, avoiding patrols and security systems. Every step brought them closer to Valtor's command center. Lieutenant Zareth, stationed near the heart of the base, had been wary since the start of the invasion. He noticed the unusual activity and suspected a human plot. Zareth's sharp instincts led him to the command center, where he confronted Valtor. "High Commander, we have detected intruders within the base," Zareth reported, his voice tense. Valtor's eyes blazed with fury. "How dare they breach our defenses? Secure the command center and prepare for combat." As Valtor barked orders, Reynolds' team reached the final barrier. They disabled the security measures and entered the command center, weapons at the ready. The room was a hive of activity, with Zalor officers scrambling to respond to the threat. Reynolds spotted Valtor, his imposing figure standing at the center of the chaos. With a silent signal, Reynolds' team fanned out, taking positions. Reynolds himself moved forward, his weapon trained on Valtor. "Valtor!" Reynolds called out, his voice cutting through the din. "Your invasion ends here." Valtor turned, his eyes locking on to Reynolds. "You're the human who has been causing so much trouble. You think you can stop the Zalar Dominion?" Reynolds stepped closer, unwavering. "We've already stopped you. Surrender, and this can end without more bloodshed." Valtor laughed, a harsh, grating sound. "You underestimate us, human. The Zalar Dominion does not surrender." Before Reynolds could respond, Valtor drew his weapon. The room erupted into gunfire, energy blasts and bullets flying in every direction. Reynolds' team engaged the Zalar guards, their movements precise and deadly. Zareth, torn between duty and doubt, hesitated, his weapon aimed at Reynolds. In the chaos, Reynolds and Valtor clashed, their weapons locked. Valtor's strength was formidable, but Reynolds' determination was unyielding. They fought with a ferocity that echoed the larger conflict between their species. Reynolds managed to disarm Valtor, his weapon clattering to the floor. "It's over, Valtor. Call off your troops." Valtor, bloodied but defiant, spat at Reynolds. "Never. The Zalar Dominion will rise again." In that moment of defiance, Zareth made his choice. He stepped forward, weapon still aimed at Reynolds but his eyes filled with conflict. "High Commander, we must stop this. We've underestimated them, and it's costing us dearly." Valtor's eyes widened in shock and betrayal. "Traitor! You dare side with the humans?" Zareth's grip tightened on his weapon, but he didn't fire. "I side with survival. Continuing this war will only lead to our destruction." The tension in the room was palpable. Reynolds seized the opportunity, stepping back and addressing the remaining Zalar officers. "You've seen what we can do. Surrender now, and we can find a way to coexist." The Zalar officers, seeing their leader disarmed and their position untenable, hesitated. Zareth lowered his weapon, setting an example. One by one, the Zalar soldiers followed suit, laying down their arms. Reynolds took a deep breath, the adrenaline slowly ebbing away. "Secure Valtor and the command center," he ordered his team. "This battle is over, but the war isn't won yet." As the humans took control of the command center, Reynolds knew they had struck a decisive blow. But he also understood that this was only the beginning. The true test lay ahead, in forging a peace that could last. The morning sun cast its first light over the battlefield, illuminating the path forward. Both humans and Zalar would have to navigate the complexities of their new reality, their fates intertwined in a fragile balance of power and trust. The captured Zalar command center buzzed with activity. Captain John Reynolds stood in the control room, surrounded by his team and former Zalar officers now working together. The victory over High Commander Valtor had been crucial, but Reynolds knew the conflict was far from over. "Reports indicate that the Zalar are regrouping," Corporal Lisa Chang said, studying the holographic map. "They're planning a counterattack. We have maybe 48 hours. Reynolds nodded, his mind racing. "We need to solidify our defenses and prepare for their assault. But we also need to send a message to their fleet, make them understand the futility of continuing this war." Lieutenant Zareth, now fully committed to the human cause, stepped forward. "I can help with that. I know their communication protocols. If we broadcast a message from here, it might convince them to stand down." Reynolds considered this. "All right, Zareth. Work with our tech team to set it up. Chang, you're in charge of fortifying our position. Thompson, I need you to gather intel on their movements." The next 24 hours were a blur of preparation. Chang and her team reinforced the base's defenses, setting up barricades and traps. Thompson scouted the surrounding area, identifying potential attack vectors. Meanwhile, Zareth and the tech team worked tirelessly to hijack the Zalar communication network. As the deadline approached, tension hung thick in the air. Reynolds gathered his team for a final briefing. "We've done everything we can to prepare. Remember, we're not just fighting for ourselves but for the future of both our species. Hold the line." In the control room, Zareth initiated the broadcast. The holographic image of Reynolds appeared on screens across the Zalar fleet. "This is Captain John Reynolds of the Human Defense Forces. We have defeated High Commander Valtor and taken control of his command center. Continuing this war will lead to unnecessary destruction and loss of life. Surrender now, and we can negotiate a peaceful resolution." As the message went out, Reynolds turned to Zareth. "Let's hope they listen. Outside the base, the ground trembled with the approach of the Zalor forces. Thompson, positioned on a lookout, relayed their movements. "They're coming from the east and south. Numbers are higher than we anticipated." Reynolds steeled himself. "Everyone, to your positions. This is it." The first wave of Zalor troops hit the eastern barricades. Explosions and gunfire filled the air as the humans repelled the attackers. Chang's traps worked flawlessly, slowing the Zalor advance and causing chaos in their ranks. Despite the overwhelming numbers, the human defenders held firm, their resolve unwavering. Reynolds moved through the battlefield, providing support where needed. He encountered Zareth, who had joined the front line, fighting alongside his former enemies. "Zareth, any word from the fleet?" Zareth deflected a blow from a Zalor soldier before responding. "No response yet. But if we can hold out a little longer, they might reconsider." The battle raged on, the tide shifting back and forth. Thompson's sharpshooting proved invaluable, picking off key targets and disrupting the Zalor coordination. Chang directed the defense with precision, ensuring no part of the perimeter was left vulnerable. Hours felt like days, but finally, a message came through on the Zalor frequency. Zareth, bloodied but determined, relayed the news to Reynolds. "The fleet is hesitating. They're awaiting confirmation from their ground forces." Reynolds saw an opportunity. "Thompson, get me a comm device. I need to speak directly to their ground commander." Thompson handed him a device, and Reynolds opened a channel. "This is Captain John Reynolds. Your fleet is reconsidering its position. Stand down, and we can end this without further bloodshed." There was a pause, and then the voice of the Zalor ground commander came through. "We have our orders, human. But we've seen your strength. Give us a reason to believe in your offer." Reynolds looked at Zareth, then back to the comm. "Your High Commander is defeated. Your fleet is questioning the wisdom of this invasion. Continuing to fight only ensures more death. Stand down, and we will ensure your safe withdrawal. This war doesn't have to end in extinction." Another tense pause followed. Finally, the Zalor commander replied, "Very well, Captain. We will cease hostilities and await further instructions." The battlefield fell eerily silent as the Zalor troops pulled back. The humans, exhausted but relieved, began to regroup. Reynolds turned to his team, pride and relief evident on his face. "We did it." In the aftermath, negotiations between the humans and the Zalor fleet commenced. With Zareth acting as a mediator, a truce was reached. The Zalor agreed to withdraw from human space and open channels for peaceful coexistence. As the sun set over the battlefield, Reynolds and Zareth stood side by side, looking out at the horizon. "This isn't the end," Reynolds said. "But it's a new beginning." Zareth nodded. "A chance for both our species to learn and grow." The war had forged unlikely allies and brought about a fragile peace. Captain John Reynolds knew that challenges lay ahead, but he also knew that humanity had proven its strength and resolve. Together, they had faced the brink of destruction and emerged victorious, ready to build a future where cooperation, not conflict, defined their fate.